Hello, and welcome back to Embracing the Fight. I am Erica Lamar, your digital creator and host. Now, if this is your first time here, this is the space where we talk about the real fights. You know, those things that we have internally, the ones that you never, ever hear anyone applauding for. The ones that, don't come with any special trophies, no special instruction, nothing, right away, but they do shape who we eventually become. So if you haven't already, please take a moment to subscribe, click like, comment, and share on Embracing the Fight. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, X, and Blue Sky. The only difference is when you find me on Instagram, it's embracing the fight underscore. Also, if you're interested in being a guest on Embracing the Fight, I would absolutely love to have you. So please comment guest below, or you can send me an email to operations at diversitydesigned.com. Again, that is operations at diversitydesigned.com. I look forward to your messages. And if you can, after this particular episode, if you know someone who is struggling with their personal best, please, please, please send it to them, because that's today's episode. We're talking about your personal best. You know, if you think about it, comparison, I've often heard, is the enemy of greatness. Again, comparison is the enemy of greatness. Now, what I want to say is something that needs to be said right out the gate. If you've ever looked over your shoulder or looked at someone else's life and started to compare, or look at yourself and say, you know what, I thought I should be further along by now, this episode is for you. Or if you've ever felt that pressure, to keep up with everyone and everything that's around you, and that's how you measure your success, or you're doing it, to prove something. Again, this episode is for you. Also, parents, mentors, coaches, leaders, teachers, or anyone in the village that is trying to raise emotionally healthy humans in a comparison laced environment, this episode is just for you. Please lean in, because we didn't have anyone to coach us out of comparison, because comparison doesn't just, steal your joy and your identity. It truly robs you of your potential, because you don't know, how well you can do if you're constantly basing it off of what you see that someone else has done. So, where does it start? Peer pressure actually starts much earlier than we, admit. Because you think about it, in elementary school, we always talked about, peer pressure like it's something that, I don't know, shows up like in middle school or like high school, when In actuality, it all started at home. Think about it. When you were a little child and say you had a brother or a sister and one of them cleaned up, better than the other, and the child is being praised for it. Peer pressure starts at that moment. It starts at the moment when we notice someone else. So, as kids or as children, we learn very, very quickly what gets praised. And at that point, our mind shifts and we try to please and do in order to be the one who is, smiled upon. Think about it. Remember those little kids out there on the basketball court, and oh, you're just waiting. You're trying to see, who's gonna get picked first to play. That they're always gonna look at the one who has the greatest, athletic ability, the one who runs the fastest, the one who jumps the high. Well, on the flip side, what about, like an academic bowl or something? They're not going to pick you if you don't read and understand things well. They're not going to choose you if you're not quick on the buzzer to answer the question. And then when it's a popularity contest, like if you're running for an office of some type, if you're not getting any attention, you won't be the one who's chosen. So this is what you have to do. And you start to train your mind and your thoughts like, okay, I just have to be better than this person. But think about it. Before we even have the language for it, we start ranking ourselves. It's never like based on growth and it's not based on effort. But do you know what it's based on? Comparison. Because we look at something and we see something, we like it, and we want to be better than what it is that we see. But there's a huge danger in doing that because most kids, they don't feel pressured to be great. Mm-mm. They feel pressured to not be left out or to not be left behind. So then they start mimicking the behaviors of others and shaping themselves, around what's socially acceptable. They shrink in, places where they're smarter or bigger or greater because they don't want to stand out. They don't want to go against, the status quo. They perform in other places where it's not necessary. They just, do it so that for the attention. They stop asking themselves, what am I truly capable of? And then they start asking, you know, how do I stack up amongst or against my peers? Not how am I doing within myself? That's not confidence. That is survival, and that is comparison. So if you don't want to survive based on others, then you really have to look at your personal best. So how do you do that? You learn to compare versus being jealous because there is a difference. And what I want to do first is I want to clear something up because this is extremely important. Comparison and jealousy are not the same thing. One actually triggers the other. Think about it. Jealousy screams, I want what you have, and I will do whatever it takes to get it, whether or not I harm you in the process or who knows what happened. I want it. But then comparison comes up and it says, I'm behind because you're ahead. They're looking at the position of the other person and they're trying to figure out how, to get there. Jealousy is more, about a desire. It's a want. It burns from within. It's envy. Comparison is more about identity, and you can get lost with comparison. And growth truly begins the moment that you can tell the difference between the two. Because a lot of people don't realize that there is a difference. Because if you're constantly comparing yourself to someone, people think you're jealous. But when you're trying to take a person's position, you realize that it's jealousy. Healthy people can admire without diminishing who they are. Because you know what unhealthy comparison turns into? It turns into someone else's identity. It takes their success and turns it into proof of your failure. When in actuality, it may not be failure at all. And here's the truth that no one truly says out loud. You could be happy for someone, cheer them on all day long, and still feel insecure. That doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you a terrible person. It doesn't make you bad at all. It just makes you good, honest. Growth happens when you stop lying to yourself or stop asking and pretending that when someone is doing something great, that you can't, cheer them on and ask yourself, why not me? Because what you should be asking yourself is not, why not me? What you should be asking is, what are my next steps? How do I do better than my personal best? Because truth be told, a lot of people do things differently and achieve things at different levels and different times. So don't do that to yourself. Your only competition that you should focus on is you and your personal best. And when we talk about personal best, we're not talking about those times when you just looked up and something great happened. I'm talking about when you really put in the work. So let me say this plainly. The only competition that truly matters is who you were yesterday. You could put a pin in it and see how well you did yesterday. And you could mark it and say, you know what? My personal best is not someone else's highlight reel. It's a comparison of the best that I've done as myself. It's not their timeline. It's not their accolades. It's not their success. It's not their resources. It's not their support. Or it's not even their starting point, because when you're looking at someone else's, goodness and joy and happiness, you don't know where they came from. You don't know how they got there. You're just looking at the end point. You have to look at your personal best as it is. You have to be able to state that my personal best is based off of my effort, my time, my discipline, my consistency, everything that I put forth to get better, my growth. There's so many things that go into your personal best. It doesn't just like fall out of the sky. It's the thing that you are working toward. It's those long nights and days that you spend writing if you're an author, and you're correcting and you're working on your craft. That is what you should be looking at. Think about it. There's a part that people always miss when they're comparing or they become jealous. Every world record or every gold medal started as someone's personal best. Think about it. Nobody wakes up breaking records unless you like FloJo. And, she even broke her own record. She just kept doing it. She didn't wake up to break the record, though. She woke up to beat her personal best. She said, one more lap, one more, repetition of lifting, one more honest conversation with my coach to help me clear my mind and help me to get things right. One more boundary that I need to set because I need to spend some time resting. I need to spend some time. I can't run around and help everyone. I can't do all these things. I have to give it one more try. I have to keep my focus on what it is that I'm trying to improve, which is my personal best. Whether it's by inches, you're still closer to excellence. Gold medals, they don't just come from you begging for them, you asking for them, or you comparing yourself to the person in the lane next to you. They come from the incremental changes and growth and mastery that comes from the effort that we put in each and every day. It doesn't happen by happenstance. But then, you have to admit something comes along with all of this. Even though you're waking up trying to do your personal best, sometimes you become mentally tired. Why? It's because you have given yourself unrealistic goals. And when you do that, it's painful. It's something a lot of people, won't admit, that is unrealistic goals that you created for yourself. They can break your spirit. It's like someone saying, "Oh, I want to lose 100 pounds in 6 months," and they hadn't lost 10 pounds in 2 years. We tell people, to dream big, but at the same time, we don't teach them how to dream wisely. Sure, you can have that huge goal, but you have to have steps to get there. Because when your goals are like disconnected from your reality, guess what? They don't come true. They don't happen. They frustrate you. Failure begins to feel like your personal best. And who wants to feel like that's all they can become is a failure? No one. And then your progress starts to feel invisible because you can't place your finger or your mind on where the growth is because you don't see it because you made the goal so big or so high. And then it gets to a point where you lose your motivation. The motivation dies, but it doesn't like go out with a bang. It just dies quietly because you slowly stop going to the gym. You slowly stop eating right. You slowly stop writing. You're not weak for struggling. You're real. You're overwhelmed. You gave yourself a goal that took the wind out of your sails because it never truly honored your starting point. And you know what happens? That mental anguish, it exacerbates. It gets worse. That little voice that's on your shoulder, you're the one that's like, what's wrong with me? Why am I not doing better than I should? Or it starts to shame you and say, you know better than that. You know you couldn't do that. I don't even know why you tried. That's not, ambition. That's misalignment. You should never attack yourself when you don't reach your goals. Just, you know, start over. Get to a starting point. Because if you don't, you're going to deal with the pain of high goals and failure more often than not. And if you want to admit it or not, did you know that failure hurts? Because it's out in the open and it's something that you can see and feel. And you can always go back to that mark in your life. And failure hurts so much, especially when you tried and you gave your very best. You tried extremely hard and you still failed. Or you believe too deeply, or I should say too deeply. You believe extremely deeply about what you were doing and you failed. Or you prematurely told people what you were working on, that dream, that project. And then you look for all the things that you hope will happen, and then you fail. Or you sat back and you said, you know what, I'm going to sacrifice. I'm going to not go on any trips. I'm not going to buy anything. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. And you still fail. All that is a unique pain that comes from aiming high and falling short. But I need you to shift with me. Why? Because failure isn't proof that you aimed too high. It's proof that you aimed and you aim bravely. A lot of people can't say that they tried to follow their dreams and do different things. So the problem isn't within the failing. The problem is quitting because failure embarrassed you. It put you out there and made people see your vulnerability. Pain is a part of growth. No one ever said that success doesn't bring some type of pain. But pain without perspective turned into paralysis. It turns into bitterness. It turns into jealousy. Think about it. Every athlete misses. Look at Michael Jordan. He missed. But look at it. No. Every leader missteps. So what? Every strong person has moments of doubt. They have weak days. The fight, isn't to never fail at all. The fight is to fail forward, to continue, to not quit, to not give up. Because you think about the people who have the most powerful stories are the ones who failed forward and they kept going, they kept dreaming, and they kept believing. So, how can you be like those people? You have to learn to set realistic and powerful goals. And you know what? You can do it practically. And I'm sure you're sitting there going, well, Miss Erica, how do you do that? Here's how you set those type goals. Ones that strengthen you instead of crushing you under the weight of the high and lofty goals that you may or may not be able to reach. And if anything, make sure that you don't crush yourself. One, start where you are, not where you wish you were. I know you think of yourself in so many different ways in your mind, but go with honesty. Be honest with yourself because it is the true foundation of growth. When you tear your life down to the studs, honesty is what you can build upon to grow. So you can have big goals, but take those big goals and break them, into small personal best milestones. Because once you start seeing yourself win something small, you gain momentum. And as you gain momentum, you know what happens? You go faster, you do more, you strive for more, you become better. And then the next thing you need to do is actually measure the effort, not just the outcome. Did you show up? Did you try? What happened? Did you think of something different that could impact what you're working on? And then what you have to do is get real and set some timeline that allow for learning. Growth takes time. Mastery takes time. And it definitely takes patience. You can't tell yourself that you are going to say, learn how to do yoga in 2 weeks. Your body's not going to let you do that unless you're already naturally flexible. So give yourself time, give yourself patience. And then what you have to do is revisit that same timeline and adjust it without shame because changing a goal isn't quitting. Not going to the next goal is. So realistic goals can stretch you without breaking you. You know, you hear at your job, oh, we got some stretch goals, there's some extra things. What those goals are set to do are to challenge you without destroying you, your work ethic, and your confidence. It's supposed to make you incrementally better. Are you willing to do those things? So then, next, what you need to do, if you have children or you have small children or the neighbor's kids, if they're over here listening, you have to teach this to them. Because imagine if someone had had this conversation with you when you were young. You may have done things, slightly different. Your life may have been different. But now you have the opportunity to influence young people. And this matters deeply. It does. Because they know that you love them and they know that you care. So you have to teach them. You have to tell them that it is better to have progress over perfection. I don't mean run in there, throw something together and do it real messy. No, I'm saying do it. Don't get all the I's and T's, everything crossed and dotted before you move. Progress is better than perfection. Effort over comparison. You have to work to it. And don't look at what somebody else is doing. You have to look at growth over grades because imagine a child who has an F and now they come home and they have a C. That is growth because they're doing better than, what they did before. That means they're showing that they've learned. Discipline over applause. Think about it. Sure, you want to cross the finish line. You want to hear people screaming your name, but you have to keep going even when no one is going to call your name. Tell them that your job in life isn't to be the best. Your job is to be your best, your personal best. Everyone has a gift. Everyone has something amazing within themselves. Tell them that it's okay to celebrate improvement, to normalize the struggle that they're going through. And then, you know what really drives the point home? If you, as the adult, let them see you struggle, you let them see you adjust your goals without self hate and talking down to yourself. And then you'll start to see that confident adults are raised, not pressured. You look back at, your kids and the things that you told them. Of the greatest of all those things, you must tell them that giving up is not an option. And I want to end, talking about how giving up is not an option. Not because quitting is shameful or not because you think that you can't overcome, this huge loss or level of embarrassment, but because you truly deserve to see who you can become. Because comparison is always going to be there. I'm not saying, you won't compare yourself because there's social media and social media makes you see everything everywhere. And you just have to be mindful that social media only shows the highlights because nobody's going to show you the full blooper reel of their life. They're not going to show you all the mistakes that they made. They're going to show you what they need to show you because they want to look like they're doing the best. Someone's always going to appear like they're doing better than you are. But you have to think about it. What's your fight? What's your growth? What is your personal best? Once you figure it out, guess what? That all belongs to you. No one can take those things from you. So keep showing up, keep refining, keep improving inch by inch. Because you think about it, every step that you take past your personal best is a step closer to the life you always dreamed of, or the life that you're capable of living. And guess what? That's worth more than fighting for anything else. It's absolutely worth fighting. This has been Embracing the Fight. And as always, keep fighting, keep believing, keep trusting in your personalness. And of all things, continue to fight forward. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to watch this episode of Embracing the Fight. I truly hope that it has helped you, and I truly hope that it helps the generations to come behind you, because you were the example to show them that going for your personal best is what's best. Y'all have an absolute amazing day.